every now and then it's important to add a bald leader to your shelf. I don't have Zordon, but I got Xavier. Not understanding the Zordon reference past the idea that they're both bald guys. My biggest point in the years of doing YouTube, I very much made a whole bunch of Zordon jokes. And it just so happens that we did follow those up when I was doing a bunch of podcasts as well to talk about the X-Men. And boy, oh boy, I have always wanted, literally always, I have always wanted a Professor Xavier for the shelf. But the problem with the Professor Xavier, first off, leader of the X-Men, okay, that's fine. And depending on your continuity, no, always, regardless of any continuity, questionable leader of the X-Men. I'm going to put it out, you know what? Xavier is not an all-great person, period. Like 100%. There are very real moral problems with Professor Xavier, as well as there are major moral conundrums going on with Magneto. Both of these guys are kind of bad dudes playing for two different dreams. Yeah, just, if you don't know, if you have a base knowledge of X-Men, just like, go find a random list of like 10 worst things Xavier ever did. It will shock you. He's not as great as they would like to make it seem. But, all of that aside, I would tell you he's the most iconic leader the X-Men have ever had. Like, there's something about him that just works. Just like the most iconic evil leader, like Brotherhood leader, has easily been Magneto. So, I have a Magneto for the shelf. I always wanted an Xavier. But, if I was to get an Xavier, I don't want a standing Xavier. I don't want Xavier in some power armor, or Xavier in the black bodysuit that like has the, has the Cerebro, which it's not Xavier, but you get the idea. And I didn't necessarily want the Savage Lands Xavier that they just released not too long ago. And by the way, there's actually a really easy way to just get that figure. There's a couple of G.I. Joes that basically fit that description 100%, where you could just head swap this Xavier onto one of those G.I. Joes and you've got him. Like you've got him. It wouldn't be difficult to make that guy at all. And I have no idea what his price range or anything is right now because I didn't get him, nor did I have any desire to do so. So if he's out of your price range, just look for the G.I. Joe that literally matches that outfit the closest. Buy him from Classified and swap the head. Like, you've got him. You've got him. It's not that hard to get him. But the thing that always comes to mind is what Xavier to get. You want him with one of the chairs. Do you want the Patrick Stewart one? Because that would be cool. Or do you want one like this in a normal chair or one like this in the future chair? And I fought with myself about this because there is something cool about like the retro normal chair. It fits a real world aspect and it's just kind of neat to have this ultra powerful person in the wheelchair. But you cannot deny the iconic nature of the future chair. Like, it's so 90s, and it very much fits the idea of Xavier at this point. It goes hand in hand with him. And I'm going to be honest, given the choices, now that this has been re-released and I was able to get my hands on one, given the choice between the future chair, the wheelchair, or any other kind of setup he's ever had over the years, I don't want him walking necessarily. I mean, I could just have that anytime by taking him out of the chair. And the regular chair is fine. It has its own iconic presence, but I think there was no arguing this was the way to go. Like, it's so spot on, so perfect. I just don't think I could have done it any better. Now, the real question is, this guy's very sought after. To the point where when he sold out, people were mad they couldn't get a hold of him. To the point where, just like the Juggernaut Colossus pack, they re-released it because people wanted the Juggernaut and the Colossus so bad that this 2-pack just went crazy. Just like people, you know, are constantly looking for the Rogue from the Juggernaut wave. There are certain figures that just, they climb because they really are absolute standouts. Is he one? Is there a reason this guy was so good he had to be reissued and given another chance? Kind of like the Kingpin. When he was gone, he was gone. And a lot of people wanted him. And then he finally came back on the retro card. And then people still didn't necessarily get him. So you had a chance at a Build-A-Figure, a chance at the retro card, and then another release of the retro card. Like, this Kingpin was hard to get. And a lot of people feel like it was definitely worth the wait to get your hands on one. Is he the same thing? Boy, I hope so. Because he certainly looks it. Let's see him. Well, there he is. Professor Xavier. And for what it's worth, for this being literally a suit body, it's fine. It works. It really does. The face sculpt is pretty much exactly what I want it to be. I'm not seeing any problems there. I think that it works perfectly. Otherwise, he moves well. He's got the ability to tap his forehead. Xavier needs the ability to tap his forehead. Come on, camera. There he is. Forehead tapping. He could do that. He can also put this hand out to do mind stuff. He can kick. He could do whatever he needs to do. He moves like a solid Marvel Legends, to be fair, in this suit. I'm actually kind of impressed. The only thing I'll say is that he doesn't stand well. He's got the same stupid feet that they gave to Bruce Banner, that, like, the cuffs down here, like, mess up. And he, like, that's his foot all the way out, which I can do. But that I can't, like, bring the foot back. Like, it doesn't want to... There. I mean, I can get him to stand, but he's got the same dumb shoes that Bruce had. He comes with Thinky Hat. He comes with the Shadow King's head. I don't know what you have to do to get the rest of the Shadow King, and I imagine by this point I'm priced out. You know what, whatever. You're not going to be standing anyway. Once I get you in the chair, that's pretty much where you're going to live anyhow, so whatever. And speaking in which, looks like we've got the seat cushion, we've got the back, we've got this effect right here, so the chair can actually basically be above the ground. We've got one side of the chair, very solid. The other side of the chair, very solid. There are also 2 compartments. This opens up, revealing this, like, red button. I don't know exactly what that's about, but there's a red button in there and some switches and stuff. And this part opens up to reveal, like, a screen and some switches and whatnot. Probably some sort of communication device. Probably if I really wanted to go back through a lot of comic panels and stuff like that, I could basically find it without a doubt. I imagine it'd be no problem at all. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start. Cushion goes in there like that, as far as I could tell. And this part of the cushion goes here, as far as I could tell. Pointed down this way, of course, because that's where he's going to be sitting. So let's see. Once I get that pushed all the way in, that across like that. Now, the question is, do I put Xavier in before or after I put the chair together? Will he have plenty of room to just kind of squeeze down into the chair? I'd hate to put this all together and then find out the hard way that it's not that way. But it looks like there'll be no problem. You push the chair together. Seam it all up. There we go. There's the chair. We've built the chair. It's fine. That wasn't hard in any way whatsoever. Not really anyway. Arms up, Xavier. Whee! Right into your future chair. And then we got a blanket for your legs. Legs are cold. Woo! Sorry. I'm gonna love this guy. Okay, got him in the chair. He's got his hand here like this. His weird hand. Got his blanket on his legs so his legs don't have to be all cold. We've got his... Is it just that simple? Woo! There we go. Okay, there he is. That's Professor Xavier in the future chair. Go that way. Woo! It's so good. I love it. Look, this is very simple, but it's also very cool. It's exactly what I wanted it to be. This blanket is kind of stupid. It works. You just kind of put it in there, put it down. There, it's kind of on his legs. It kind of goes in like right there. And it's fine for what it's worth, but it's not mind-blowing or anything like that. It's really a prop you almost don't even need. But it's there and it adds the effect. And perfect. Thinky hat. For thinkies. There, he can thinky about stuff. Put his hand out and do Xavier stuff. There he is. He's what I wanted him to be. He's perfectly what I wanted him to be. He's got his big thinky effect, so he can thinky about stuff. Like, he can be like, woo, and then he can be like, Logan. And then Logan can be out with, playing cards, and he can be like, because I got Street Logan now, and then Street Logan could be like, what's going on, Professor? And he could be like, I need you to pick up a pizza. And he's like, are you kidding me with this? And he's like, you'll be coming home anyway in about an hour. He's like, no, I was planning on staying out all night. No, Logan, you'll be coming home in an hour. And then Logan's like, oh man, I'm pretty hungry. I should probably head home soon. And he's like, good, pick us up a pizza. And he's like, no problem, Chuck. I'll get the pizza on my way home. And then that's a ridiculous abuse of powers, as if Xavier never abused his powers ever, and that's fantastic, and that's a thing now. This is great. I didn't even realize the effect could come off of Cerebro. That's actually even cooler now that I know the effect can come off, because you can literally just have it without the effect, kind of just sitting down somewhere or whatever, like in his lap. Cool. Simple enough. I don't gotta go crazy about it. This is it, man. This is exactly what I wanted it to be. Xavier. And there we go. Professor Xavier added to the shelf. When I was growing up, I gotta admit, before reading into all the history, reading comic after comic after comic, and for them to try to find ways to like shock you and things like that, because comic books are like that, man. They gotta find ways to keep you guessing and everything, and then seeing some of the stuff that later we could judge him on. When all I was doing was watching the cartoon and picking up a comic every now and then, this guy was it, man. This guy was like, kind of crazy that he would later be portrayed by the same man, but this guy was Captain Picard, man. He was the moral compass. He was going to make it all better. He believed and he cared, and he offered his resources to people less fortunate than him, and he gave an entire generation hope. And I remember even kind of loving that line where, and I know it's from a movie that people don't like, but in the third X-Men movie when he dies And Magneto says, Charles Xavier did more for mutant kind than you will ever know. Like, and he did, man. He did. I've always liked the X-Men. Heck, this channel for a while was literally called Keeping Up with the X-Men because it was my primary focus. I was reading every single thing put out by X-Men for like 5 years. And it actually burned me out on X-Men, if you want the truth of it. That era of X-Men, I have this habit where I come into X-Men and I get really into it. And I read everything there is and I kind of get going, and then before you know it, I get burnt out because there's just too much to keep up with. And this has happened periodically my entire life. And it happened to me again. I got back into it a couple years back, and I started reading everything. This was like right at the point where the Phoenix was coming back to life, and we just kind of moved Old Man Logan into the main continuity, and we were doing the X-Men Gold, X-Men Blue, and I started a little bit before that, by the way, but right at that time with X-Men Gold, X-Men Blue, X-Men Red, all the X-Force stuff, and all that, like that's, and then I was like reading everything. So basically they'd say, hey, Domino has her own book, and I'm like, that's X-Men, so I'd pick it up. And then, so I burned myself out. I was also reading Jean Grey at the time, and I was really enjoying the Jean Grey book. But as X-Men tend to do, they're incredibly popular and also incredibly complicated. The X-Men alone could be their own standalone Marvel universe. And I mean, they were for Fox, so I mean, you get the idea. But they could. Like, it is just as hard keeping up with just the X-Men stuff as it is to try to follow the entirety of what's going on in the Marvel universe at any given time. You could follow Thor. 2-3 books, maybe. You could follow Spider-Man. A little more complicated. You might need 4, 5, 6 books. And I'm talking if you're really trying to know everything that's going on. So you want to know about what's going on with Miles, what's going on with Peter, what's going on with Gwen. You want to keep up with the whole Spider story. It's probably going to take 5, 6 books. You could do it, though. You want to keep up with the Avengers. That could be a little complicated depending on how broad you want to make that spectrum. You want to follow Captain America? What? Maybe 1 book, maybe 2, maybe 3. Comics burn me out in sections all the time. For that reason. Because there's too much all at once, all the time, and they don't stay in their lane. Like if you want to read X-Men, if you want to know everything that's going on in X-Men, and this is just to take you back, I was reading X-Men Gold, X-Men Blue, Old Man Logan, the new Wolverine book. Oh man, I was reading Domino at the time, Jean Grey. Look, I'm up to 6 books, and I know I'm not done, because I was also reading something that was it Weapon X? I think Weapon X. So that's 7 books. Like, all at the same time. Oh, I was reading Wolverine, I think, at the time. Oh, and then because they did that Hulk H, Weapon H, or whatever, I was reading that. I was reading, like, everything there was to read X-Men. And it burned me out. And that happens oftentimes with comic books with me. I get in, I get really into it, I start kind of buying a bunch of stuff. Before you know it, I'm $40, $50 a week just desperately trying to read storylines, and then I get tired of it, and then I give up. And then I'm out of comics for a good while, and then I kind of shuffle back into comics a couple years later when I find that I'm like, hey, this is kind of an entry point. I think if I ever get back into comics, realistically, and I know a lot of people aren't going to like this, I would do streaming stuff at this point, just to be able to actually keep up at my own pace that I choose. I just want to read the stories. And also, when you read a bunch of stuff, it will delude your interest or understanding of certain aspects. Like, it really will. Because, like, Professor Xavier is one of those characters that the further you dig into him, the more you start to go, oh, whoa, what? You did what? You do what? You said what? Like, but, just bare bones basic. Xavier felt like the hopeful leader, the guy we needed, the person that would help us get where we wanted to go, to be better people. And I hung on to that for years, even after I read enough books to be like, I don't know. But to have a 90s Xavier on the shelf really just completes the X-Men for me. It just does. At this point, anything else that I pick up that's X-Men is just adding to the pile. From Xavier, the main students surrounding him, and now I branch out. For me, if I never got another X-Men figure ever, I don't think it'd bother me. Sure, there are ones I want. I want a solid Beast and stuff like that. Of course I do. But I mean, realistically, at this point, I've hit a moment by picking up Xavier that makes me feel like if I never got another one ever again, I would still have a very solid X-Men team on the shelf. And I would want for nothing else. And that is hard to do in toy collecting. It's hard to reach a moment where you go, I finished this, I'm done. But really, if I never got another figure for X-Men, I could shrug my shoulders about it. There will always be more X-Men that I want. But there's a feeling of completion that comes with having the entirety of the first cast, basically the entirety of the 90s series that I grew up with, and him. The only guy I need to hunt down now is Beast. And then if I never got another X-Men figure ever again, I don't think it would bother me. I'm gonna get out of here.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.